In the far reaches of the galaxy, countless civilizations had been born, risen, and eventually fallen. The galactic community, an ancient web of races connected through trade and diplomacy, watched as new worlds emerge, and yet only a few were ever noticed by those in power. For millennia, humanity had existed on the periphery of this great galactic network, their existence barely a footnote in the grand history of the stars. The Zolrians, one of the most advanced and powerful species in the galaxy, barely acknowledged humans. To them, Earth was insignificant, a small world with primitive technology and limited resources. This was the way of the galaxy. The strong thrived, and the weak were left to fend for themselves. But as the Zolrians would soon discover, humanity was unlike any species they had ever encountered. It began with a shimmer in the night sky. At first, astronomers believed it was nothing more than a new comet, a routine celestial event. But as the object grew closer, the truth became undeniable. A massive fleet of alien ships was entering the solar system. From their observation stations on Mars and the Moon, human scientists scrambled to identify the intruders. The ships were like nothing they had ever seen, sleek, dark vessels that seemed to absorb the light of the stars. Within hours, the Zolrian fleet had arrived in orbit around Mars. On Earth, the news spread like wildfire. Humanity had made contact with other species before, but none had ever arrived with such force, and none had ever dared to enter human-controlled space uninvited. In the United Earth Federation headquarters, a tense meeting was held. President Elena Veris, a seasoned diplomat, stood at the head of a long conference table, surrounded by military officers, scientists, and advisors. Her face, though calm, betrayed a sense of growing unease. "Reports from Mars are troubling," Veris said, her eyes scanning the room. "The Zolrians have begun mining operations without our consent. They're extracting resources as if we don't even exist." Admiral Jack Torrance, the grizzled commander of the United Earth Fleet, leaned forward. "This is an act of aggression. We can't let them continue." Veris sighed. "We're outmatched technologically. Their ships are faster, more advanced. If we start a war, we might not survive it." Dr. Amina Solari, one of the leading minds in Earth's technological advancements, cleared her throat. "I've been studying the Zolrians for years. They're cold, calculating. They value logic above all else. But there's one thing they don't understand: us. They see emotions as a weakness. That's their mistake." Zolrian Ambassador Cowrin stood in the heart of the Zolrian flagship, his pale skin illuminated by the cold blue glow of the ship's control systems. Before him was a holographic image of President Veris, who appeared small and insignificant in comparison. "You have no claim to Mars," Cowrin stated flatly. "The resources of your solar system are needed for the greater good of the galaxy. Your objections are irrelevant." Veris's jaw tightened. "You will cease your operations immediately, or there will be consequences." Cowrin tilted his head, his black eyes narrowing. "Your species is not in a position to make demands. We have been harvesting resources across the galaxy for eons. This system is no different." The conversation ended abruptly, with Cowrin turning his back on the hologram, dismissing the humans entirely. In his mind, they were nothing more than a minor inconvenience. The Zolrians had faced opposition before, but none had ever succeeded in challenging their authority. In the days that followed, humanity's fury began to build. Across Earth, Mars, and the colonies on the Moon, protests erupted. People demanded action. The idea that an alien race could simply take what was theirs without consequence was an insult to everything humanity had fought for. In the midst of this growing tension, Admiral Torrance and Dr. Solari worked tirelessly. Solari had developed a plan, an advanced AI virus that could infiltrate Zolrian systems and disable their ships from within. It was a bold, risky move, but it was the only chance humanity had of leveling the playing field. "We have one shot at this," Solari explained to Torrance as they stood in the dimly lit war room of the fleet headquarters. "The virus is untested, but if it works, it'll give us time to mobilize our forces." Torrance nodded. Do it. As the virus was uploaded into the Zolrian systems, chaos ensued. Across their fleet, systems began to fail. Mining drones on Mars stopped mid-operation, and communication channels were scrambled. On Earth, the sight of the Zolrian ships faltering sent a wave of hope through the population. But the Zolrians were not easily defeated. They quickly regrouped, adapting to the attack and retaliating with force. The battle for Mars had begun. In the skies above the Red Planet, human ships clashed with the Zolrians in a brutal, high-stakes conflict. Torrance led the charge from the bridge of the Nova Ascendant, his flagship, barking orders as explosions lit up the stars. Focus fire on their lead ship. Torrance commanded. We need to break their formation. The battle raged on, with human ships fighting desperately against the superior Zolrian technology. But for every human ship that was destroyed, 2 more took its place, fueled by the unyielding determination of their crews. On the ground, Mars's surface was a battlefield of its own. Zolrian drones attempted to establish mining outposts, but human ground forces, led by Commander Jane Cortez, launched guerrilla-style attacks, destroying equipment and sabotaging operations. We won't let them take this planet, Cortez said to her soldiers as they prepared for another strike. This is our home. Despite suffering heavy losses, the Zolrians were unprepared for the sheer ferocity of the human resistance. After weeks of intense fighting, the Zolrian fleet began to retreat, but humanity was not content to let them go. In a bold and unprecedented move, the United Earth Fleet pursued the Zolrians back to their home system. On board the Zolrian flagship, Calren watched in disbelief as human ships followed them through hyperspace. They're relentless, he muttered to himself. They don't know when to stop. When the human fleet arrived in Zolrian space, they were met with a sight that few had ever seen. Zolrian Prime, the homeworld of the Zolrians, was a cold, sterile planet dominated by towering structures of steel and glass. The Zolrian people, emotionless and logical, had built a society devoid of the chaos and passion that defined humanity. But now, that society was on the brink of collapse. As the human fleet prepared for a final assault, President Varys sent a message to the Zolrian High Council. This war ends now. Withdraw from our system or face the consequences. Calren, standing before the council, was forced to admit what he had never thought possible. The humans, they're stronger than we anticipated. The High Council, for the first time in centuries, felt a flicker of fear. They had underestimated humanity's will, their drive, and most importantly, their anger. The Zolrians withdrew, leaving Mars and Earth untouched. The galaxy, once indifferent to humanity's existence, now watched in awe and fear. For the first time, the galactic community realized that humanity was not a species to be trifled with. Word spread quickly. From the distant reaches of space to the halls of power in ancient civilizations, the message was clear: never make humans angry. And in the quiet darkness of space,